Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we tear through the research so you can stop scrolling and get straight to the crucial insights. Today, we are peering into a highly ambitious energy prediction. It's the radical possibility of running the entire North American continent on 100% renewable energy by the end of this decade.
And we're tackling this by diving deep into the technical foundation of that claim. Specifically, a paper titled, and it's a mouthful, "A Techno-Economic Study of an Entirely Renewable Energy-Based Power Supply for North America for 2030 Conditions."
The context here is really critical. You can tell by that title, it's meticulous. And we should note, this paper is a little bit older. It's from back in 2017.
Right. But it did something incredible. It didn't model the transition, the step-by-step process. It ran what's called an overnight study.
Overnight set. So what does that actually mean?
It means they modeled what the energy system could look like in 2030 if you basically hit a reset button. They wanted to investigate the feasibility of this radical case in principle.
So proving the technical limits and financial possibilities, not the politics of getting there.
Exactly. The model's mission was to match power generation and demand across the U.S., Canada, and Mexico using the absolute least cost mix of renewable energy and storage.
Okay, so after all that computational heavy lifting, what was the big conclusion? I mean, was a 100% renewable system just prohibitively expensive?
That's the big takeaway, the financial mic drop, really. The study found that a 100% RE-based system for North America is not just feasible, it's highly cost competitive.
Cost competitive? How competitive are we talking?
The levelized cost of electricity, that's the LCOE, it ranged from €63 on the high end down to an astonishing €42 in LWH, and that all depends on how smart we are with the grid design.
€42 per megawatt hour. I mean, that is an incredibly low number for a fully sustainable continent-wide system.
Yeah.
So where do we even begin? How do you model something that massive?
It's essentially a giant optimization puzzle. The methodology used an hourly resolve model, all based on a linear optimization algorithm.
And its goal?
Its only purpose was to minimize the total annual cost of the energy system. It had to design the absolute cheapest, most reliable, 100% renewable system from scratch for those 2030 conditions.
And what about the geography? I mean, you've got 3 huge countries. How did they handle that?
They divided North America into 20 distinct subregions. And these weren't just arbitrary lines on a map. They were based on things like population density, demand profiles, and, the existing grid structure. It was all about breaking it down into manageable, logical pieces.
Which brings us to what feels like the core technical idea of this paper, the supergrid concept.
Precisely. The enormous potential of renewables only really pays off if you can share them. So the whole premise is creating a continental supergrid using high-voltage direct current HVDC transmission lines.
To connect all 20 of those subregions.
Right, to get these massive synergy effects.
But wait a second. Crossing all those state, provincial, and international borders with massive power lines, the regulatory cost for that alone seems like it would be astronomical, right? I mean, isn't that a bigger hurdle than the technology?
That's the exact question that takes us outside the model scope. Remember, it was focused only on the technical and financial feasibility for that target year.
Right, the in-principle part.
Exactly. But within the financial constraints of the model, the savings you get from sharing power across regions vastly outweigh the infrastructure investment. They were showing what was possible, leaving the political transition part for politicians to solve.
Okay, so let's see the financial proof of that claim then. The study looked at 4 different scenarios based on how interconnected those 20 regions were.
It did, and this is where you can really see the value of interconnection. The costs changed dramatically.
Walk us through them.
Okay, so first you have the region-wide scenario. Super decentralized, every sub-region for itself. That was the most expensive at €63 each. Then, countrywide, interconnection, but only within the US, Canada, or Mexico. Cost drops to €56 MWh.
Nice drop.
Then area-wide, this is the full continental supergrid, the LCOE falls to 53 MWh.
Okay.
And finally, the integrated scenario. This is the area-wide grid plus some new industrial demands, and that's the low-cost winner at just €42 or so.
So just going from decentralized regions to a fully connected continent drops the price by 16%. That's huge. You're just adding transmission lines.
That's the key technical insight here. Sharing power is genuinely cheaper than trying to store it all locally. Interconnection is the ultimate storage substitute.
The ultimate storage substitute. I like that.
It creates this ripple effect, and this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay, let's talk about that ripple effect, the storage shockwave, as you put it.
Yeah.
How much cheaper did interconnection make the storage part of the system?
Dramatically cheaper. The study showed that as you add more grid interconnections, you need significantly less long-duration storage.
Mm.
They looked at a technology called adiabatic compressed air energy storage, or ACEs.
ACEs. That sounds like something out of science fiction.
It's basically a way to store huge amounts of energy by compressing air in, like, massive underground caverns. Think of it as a seasonal battery.
Okay, so storing spring sunshine for the deep winter.
You got it. But the utilization of ACEs dropped by around 100% when you compare the decentralized scenario to the fully connected area-wide scenario.
It disappeared completely.
It essentially became unnecessary. With the supergrid, you don't need that massive, expensive seasonal reserve. Instead of storing energy for months, you're sharing solar power from California with wind power from Texas in real time. Geographical smoothing replaces seasonal storage.
So you're swapping huge, expensive storage caverns for cheaper, more efficient HVDC transmission lines.
Exactly. The system just chooses diversity over localized brute force storage every time. It's simply cheaper.
So given that this system relies on diversity, what resources did the model actually choose? What was the foundation of this 100% system?
Overwhelmingly, it chose wind and solar PV. They were found to be the least cost options across North America's, incredibly diverse geography.
And was the mix of wind and solar consistent across the different scenarios?
Not at all, which is also interesting. In the most decentralized scenario, solar PV dominated about 56% of the capacity.
Okay.
But in the most integrated, high-demand scenario, wind capacity shot up to 48%, followed closely by PV at 45%. It shows the model prefers tapping into those really high-quality, continuous wind resources when the whole system needs flexible power at scale.
And what about the prosumer role, people generating their own power?
Absolutely vital. The model found that PV self-consumption plays a huge role. In the area-wide scenario, self-consumption actually accounted for 63% of the total installed PV capacity.
63%. So homes and businesses with their own solar are a massive piece of the puzzle.
A massive piece. It significantly reduces the load on the central system.
Can you give us a concrete example of the sheer scale of power being traded on this supergrid?
Sure. The largest connection in the model was between East Canada and the U.S., New England, and New York area. It clocked in at 90 gigawatt-W of capacity.
90 gigawatts.
Yeah.
That's a truly gargantuan amount of power.
It is. It's designed to move Canadian hydro or Atlantic wind down to the big population centers whenever it's needed, hour by hour.
Okay, so let's jump to the ultimate winner, the integrated scenario, the one that hit that unbelievable 42 euro MWh price. How does adding more demand drop the cost by another 20%?
This is the pure power of demand-side flexibility. It's maybe the most innovative part of the study.
So what did they integrate?
2 new sectors. First, non-energetic industrial gas demand, which was covered by power-to-gas technology making synthetic natural gas, or SNG. And second, renewable water demand, covered by seawater desalination.
So the idea is you're turning electricity that you might have otherwise wasted into stable, storable things like gas and fresh water.
That is the perfect analogy. You're basically using the gas pipeline or the water tower as your new battery.
So instead of paying for expensive long-term electrical storage, the system just makes something else of value.
Precisely. When the sun is blazing and the wind is howling and electricity is super cheap, the grid just directs that power to make storable SNG or to desalinate water.
And that reduces the need for things like ACES even further.
Massively. This approach led to a 58% decrease in storage cost compared to the already efficient area-wide scenario. The system is designed to always have a customer for cheap electricity.
And the output, beyond just power, is pretty impressive.
It is. The model shows North America could produce 84 billion cubic meters of renewable water a year at an affordable cost of about 1.1 euro mints. It's a triple win for energy, gas, and water security.
This all sounds incredible, but here's the money shot. The comparison against the conventional system, the business as usual or BAU scenario, was 100% RE actually cheaper.
This is the critical finding. This study compared its optimal RE system, the 53 euro MWH area-wide scenario, against the 2030 BAU projection. And, importantly, that BAU projection excluded the cost of CO2 emissions.
So a best-case scenario for fossil fuels.
A very friendly scenario. And that BAU cost was projected at 59 euro MWH.
So wait, even before you account for climate change, the fully renewable system is cheaper.
That's it. A 100% RE system is 10% to 16% cheaper than a fossil fuel and nuclear system, even when you completely ignore the climate benefit. The least cost solution is the sustainable solution.
That is a huge economic implication.
Mhm.
It just reframes the whole narrative that sustainability is some kind of expensive burden.
And it gets even better. If you do factor in the cost of CO2 emissions, which the study put at about 60 euros per ton, the BAU cost jumps to 82 MWH.
Wow.
At that point, the 100% RE scenarios are a staggering 25% to 40% cheaper than business as usual. The financial case is just overwhelming.
So if the system is technically superior and financially cheaper, the study must have concluded that the real barriers lie somewhere else?
They did. The ultimate feasibility statement from this 2017 study is powerful. They said the barriers to implementing a 100% RE system are neither technical nor economic for 2030 conditions.
A profound conclusion. So to synthesize the findings of a techno-economic study of an entirely renewable energy-based power supply for North America for 2030 conditions, we found a fully sustainable continental power system is technically sound, it's cost competitive, and it's demonstrably financially superior to business as usual, even without a carbon price.
The analysis clearly shows that the benefits come from two places: large-scale HVDC interconnection, the supergrid and intelligent sector integration, which basically eliminates the need for expensive seasonal storage. The paper concludes that the main obstacles are, political and social. They're rooted in resistance from established energy investors and just general public unawareness.
Which leaves us with a provocative thought for you to consider. Since a fully sustainable power system is proven to be cost-effective, even compared to conventional energy without a carbon price, how quickly can policy and public support catch up to what is now a technical and financial reality?